It was the afternoon of December 14, 1862. The city of Fredericksburg, Virginia was trembling under the thunderous roars of cannons. A hillside known as Marye's Heights was literally drenched in the blood of soldiers. On one side stood the Union Army, and on the other, the Confederates. A deathly silence occasionally hung over the battlefield, but within that silence was a cry more agonizing than the shriek of bullets. It was the plea of thousands of wounded men, lying in the dust, desperate for a single drop of water. Their groans reached the trenches of both friend and foe, yet no man was daring enough to face that rain of lead to help them. But amidst this carnage, through the thick smoke of gunpowder, emerged a young man who would turn the fire of war into the coolness of compassion. His name was Richard Rowland Kirkland. He stood before his commander and said,
"Sir, I can't stand this anymore. All day I have heard these poor souls crying for water. My heart can no longer bear it."
Don't you know what will happen if you step past that wall?
I cannot grant permission, soldier. It's too dangerous and I can't risk losing you.
I know that, sir, but if you allow me, I am ready to take that risk.
Even the commander, seeing his fearless passion for humanity, couldn't bring himself to stop him, despite knowing the grave danger he was walking into. And then, Richard looked at him and asked,
"Sir, with all due respect, I ask permission to take the flag with me."
No, I will not authorize you to carry the flag. It is an official declaration of the war's end, which is not what we want.
Okay, sir, I'll take my chance.
Richard simply smiled and said, "All right, sir, I'll take my chances." Richard's resolve was harder than any stone. He cast his rifle aside and slung numerous canteens filled with water over his shoulders. Then, without any weapon, he stepped out from behind that safe stone wall and plunged into the hellish field. Behind the wall, his comrades' breath hitched in their throats. They were certain that in the very next moment, a barrage of bullets would tear Richard's body into pieces. And then, Richard knelt beside a wounded enemy soldier. He lifted his head, tended to his wounds, and poured life-giving drops of water onto his parched lips. The Union soldiers watched in stunned disbelief. Hands that were ready to kill froze in respect. The firing suddenly stopped, as if nature itself had ordered a break in the war. For an hour and a half, Richard moved from one wounded man to another in that blistering heat, cradling their heads and proving that even in the game of death, humanity lives. Soldiers watched a lone boy standing between two armies, erasing the lines of enmity. He didn't just give them water, he gave them a final memory of home. That day, Richard Rowland Kirkland ceased to be just a soldier. He became an angel. Unfortunately, harsh orders from superiors eventually forced the lead to fly once more. The savage face of war returned, and Richard had to go back to his trench. But he had already shown the world that no matter the color of the uniform, the color of human pain is the same. At only 19 years of age, a time when life is just beginning, his courage was greater than that of veteran warriors. He extinguished the fires of hate with the water of love. Tragically, only 9 months later, Richard was killed at the Battle of Chickamauga, fighting the very same Union Army. He was only 20. His final words remain etched in history. "Tell Pa that I died right." In 1880, after Richard's death, he was honored with the grand title of the Angel of Marye's Heights. In recognition of his immortal sacrifice and humanity, a statue was erected in his honor in Fredericksburg in 1965.